Ringside Raw TV with your host, Caesar Sherry.
Hey guys, welcome back to Ringside Raw TV. Hope you've been enjoying the content so far. Lot to get through today. So we're just going to start on Zuffa. Quick update as to what's been going on with the Zuffa, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn divorce. After that, we're going to get straight into some of the upcoming fights. Thoughts on that, what we could take away from those fights. Just a deep dive, really. You know the way I like to do this. We look at what is thrown out there, but then we dissect it, and we look at really the hidden meanings in all of it. And we scrutinize everything. So let's just get straight into it. Zuffa, what's the update there? Nothing really exciting to report. Everything is playing out as I've said in the previous episodes. Yeah, I called that this was a bigger issue than betrayal between Eddie and Conor Benn. I said this was more about Turki Al-Sheikh and him putting the knife in from the front and that being the deeper betrayal. I called the fact that Frank Warren's been sat quietly about all of this. So what is going on? And lo and behold, Frank Warren has come out bitter and twisted, really bitter and twisted, guns blazing. You know, he's filed a lawsuit. So let's be clear about what that really means. Once you file that lawsuit, there's no going back in the relationship. The relationship is in effect done. Yeah. Now, I said before, and I've said it in a couple of the previous episodes, I think Frank Warren is on his way out. And that's as I understand it, because I know some insiders, we speak, and Frank Warren was the guy who brought Turki Al-Sheikh to the table. And then along came Eddie Hearn. And of course, Frank and Eddie always had their sort of competition between each other. They weren't really friends. They weren't getting along. They never saw eye to eye. There's always that rivalry, let's say. But Turki was Frank's guy. So I think Frank is probably feeling the betrayal a lot harsher than Eddie was, except Eddie had the Conor public fallout to deal with. Now, Frank's gone gun blazing and he's filed a lawsuit for $1 billion. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets zero. And the issue he's going to have now is if he walks away from this without a big payday, he's done for. I don't know how he's going to survive this. Now, I'm just going to fast forward a second here. Tyson Fury is fighting on a show that is in effect a Turki Al-Sheikh show, or at least Turkey's new group show. Yeah. Now they'll stand back and say, "Oh, this is a seller show. Seller's paying the bill." Listen, it's all one and the same. I don't care what the brand is. It's all owned by the same group. So it's in effect your show. Now, Frank Warren will not be at that show, but his fight is going to be on the card. The main event, co-main event, let's say. That's a little bit odd to me. Yeah. And that for me is again how blatant and how carefree Turki Al-Sheikh is and the whole US conglomerate, that whole organization in the US are when it comes to their dealings. They just don't care. Yeah, they're shameless actually. And so Frank, I think, is out of his depths. Now, let's go a little bit deeper into that. Is Eddie going to join this legal case? Absolutely not. I've said this before as well, and I'll say it again. I don't think Eddie is short-sighted. You may lose a fight or two or three, but that's the fight game. That's the sport. Fighters come, fighters go. But protect your business. Now, Eddie's got to take the slap in the face because he didn't contract him up. He didn't paper the guy, so the guy left. Now, he left in the wrong way. We all know that. Could have done it better. Could have showed a bit more respect on the way out for your man, but he didn't. But now, lesson learned, Eddie. Put your paperwork in place, but Eddie's here to stay. And I'll tell you for why. Eddie's bigger than boxing, or Matchroom's bigger than boxing, right? We all see Eddie as the boxing guy. But Matchroom's got many sports that they're covering. Snooker, darts, plus a bundle more. So they're going to be needed. Yeah. And so you don't cut him loose. Yeah. And so I believe Eddie isn't short-sighted, but Eddie will learn his lesson and Eddie will have more casualties. He's going to lose more fighters along the way. But if he's smart and if he plays ball, that seat on the train is still there for him. Now, why am I quoting the seat on the train? Eddie gave an interview yesterday, I think it was, and he recited one of the first things Turki Al-Sheikh said to him when he sat down and met him. And what did Turki Al-Sheikh say to him? He basically said, Eddie, and Eddie didn't know who this guy was. He basically went to a meeting after ripping Turki Al-Sheikh, publicly. Didn't know who the guy really was and what it was about, but went to a meeting with him, sat down, and Turki Al-Sheikh basically said to him this. And I've seen this quote as well from an interview 2 years ago. We are a fast-moving train. You have an opportunity to get on the train and have a VIP seat, first-class ticket, or you're going to get left behind. Now, Eddie, at that point, chose to get on board. Did anyone know how this thing was going to play out? I think there was enough writing on the wall. But once that train's in motion, you can't stop it. Yeah. And so you either hold on for dear life. That's maybe what Eddie and Frank have been doing for a while now, and tread water with it and pray that someone does right by you, or you're going to get left behind. Frank, unfortunately, is going to get left behind. This is just a matter of time. He's going to go out on his feet. He's going to go out honorably because he's going to go out fighting. But this is a fight you can't win. Tell you for why again. Turki Al-Sheikh gave an interview 2 years ago when he used the same quote, but he added a bit more to it. And he spoke about why he's able to impact sport so quickly and why, if he wants to impact a sport, it can't be stopped. He referenced 2 big mountains that stand behind him or are placed behind him. And these mountains are so vast and so tall, you can't see the height of them. And what he was referring to was the crown prince and the ruler of Saudi. And he's more specifically, he's referring to the depth of their wealth and resource. You can't compete with that. So he played out a very simple game plan. Bring people close, bring them near, make them feel the warmth, throw some money at the situation, at the sport, put on some big shows, give everyone a great time. You learn, you build your relationships, and then you take it to the next level. Now, why has he gone to the UFC mob or to this conglomerate in America? I think, if I'm honest, I actually think there is a little bit of sense to the madness. One being, and I think he's come out publicly said this, by the way, is you can't keep putting on fights with the current sort of boxers that we have. If you just look at Usyk, who is left really in the heavyweights for him to fight that he hasn't already fought, And so we're getting to that point where he's put on the big shows. How many times can Bivol fight Berbatov? It's like you put on these big shows, but then you run out of fighters, so you can't go backwards. And so he's now looked at the UFC. And I think what we're going to be seeing, and what we are already seeing, by the way, and we're going to come into this as well, is more of a crossover. Now, I don't like it. And all boxers, anyone that's a purist of boxing from the boxing side of the camp is not going to like this. But the only way to keep the entertainment going is change location, change venue, or bring in crossover fighters. Because at some point you do run out of fighters, or you bring back the old guys, which again we are seeing more of, right? Now, that doesn't make it right. And I don't like that for boxing. And I certainly don't like that for the crossover guys, because you don't see really boxers trying to be UFC fighters or kickboxers. We're not that stupid, right? A boxer does not want to get kicked in the head or taken to the ground. Wouldn't know what to do. But when you put a kickboxer or a UFC guy against a world champion boxer, what do you think is going to happen? At some point, this is going to get dangerous. Now, park that to one side. Do I also think Turkey is good for the sport? I would say this. I have my suspicions about the near term. And if we look at what Saudi has done with, the Live Golf, they set up their whole new golfing league and brought in a bunch of pros. And that's riddled with legal problems already. If we look at the Saudi Pro Football League, yeah, and they bring in people like Cristiano Ronaldo, pay fortunes for this guy, but stadiums are half empty. Now, that is not fun for any spectator or anyone that loves the sport. Yes, it's still early days. I get all of that, but it just doesn't feel right, And so, I don't know. I think there's a lot to learn. I think you got to give this thing a lot of time, and I think we all got to accept that boxing is going to be led into a whole new era of the sport, which is something that has never happened before. And whether it plays out well or not, I don't know. I think it'd be nice to see some of the old faces stay in the sport from a promotional point of view. Trainers, they're not going anywhere. Fighters, well, we're just seeing more of a merging of young fighters against old fighters coming back, and now crossover fighters, right? So everyone's going to get an opportunity. Do I think the big paydays will get reduced at some point? Well, when you've got Dana White basically now leading the charge, look what he's done with UFC, right? He's monopolized MMA in America, and he's basically controlling the purse, and he's controlling the contracts. He's controlling everything. And so boxing at some point, I believe, will probably fall to that knife as well, right? So summarize it all. There's a lot to see where the future of boxing goes to right now, but there's going to be more crossovers, that's for sure. There's going to be more to see with this fallout between Turkey and Frank Warren, but I think the end is near for Frank Warren. We've just got to let that one play out. Now, what about the cards coming up? Well, I got mixed feelings about that. Don't know what you guys think about it, but certainly, if we just start with, let's start with the big one, right? The co-main event. So we've got Tyson Fury making a comeback against Arslanbek Makhmudov. Now, I don't like this fight at all. I mean, any other day, I probably wouldn't watch this fight. I'll be honest with you. And I'll tell you for why. Because I'm not fussed about Tyson Fury anymore. What does Tyson Fury even do anymore? Like, there's nothing left of the guy. So any other day, if it was just a show with Tyson Fury, would I watch it? Maybe quietly, but I probably wouldn't publicize the fact that I'm going to watch that fight. I'll just be watching it for the sake of, because I like boxing and then it's a fight. But do I care? Completely no, I'm completely indifferent to that fight. The guy's record, I mean, Makhmudov's record, 21 wins, 2 losses, but again, fought nobodies. Like, his record is built on absolute nobodies. So, don't care for this fight. Don't care if Tyson Fury loses. Doesn't mean anything. But you now co-event it with Conor Benn and Regis Prograis. Now, that makes it a little bit more of a palatable show, right? Again, do I care about the Conor Benn fight? Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't care about Conor Benn that much. Will I watch it? Of course. Absolutely. Do I think this is going to be a one-sided fight? 100%. I think Conor Benn will win. I think it'll be a late-stage stoppage for Conor Benn. I don't think he'll do it too quickly. I think he needs to stop this guy. I think taking it to points is pointless. But again, Prograis, if you look at him on paper, the guy's 37 years old. He's the oldest guy in his gym. This is a fight that is great for him. I mean, he did everything he could to get that contract signed, right? He did everything to push his team to deal with Conor's team. When he was asked who they dealt with, he had no idea, right? Bizarre. But in any case, he made that fight no matter what. So he's giving up weight. This is a fight, I think, 150. So he's giving up weight, and he's giving up age. And he's coming in against Conor, who's super fit. And so, I don't know. I just see this being an easy night for Conor. And now, here's the bigger question. Is this fight worth $15 million for Conor? Absolutely not. Now, so, it leaves open the obvious question. What more have they got planned for Conor? Because you're not going to pay Conor $15 million to fight an old guy who really shouldn't beat you on paper. This isn't what I call a great matchup. So I think what is going to happen on this show is Conor wins. Conor wins convincingly. But there will be a big announcement which will make sense because this is a big event. You got Tyson Fury on the event. You got Conor Benn on the event. So there's going to be a lot of people dialed into this event, right? So I think there will be a big announcement on this show for what happens next with Conor Benn. And Conor Benn, of course, and I mean that by who he will be potentially fighting next, right? But you don't pay a guy 15 million just for this fight. That's nonsense. So there is a longer term plan, I believe, with Zafar and Conor Benn. But again, boxer's chance. So let's see what happens. The fight that Usyk, again, May 23rd, Usyk. So following on from the April 11th show of Conor and Tyson main event, we've then got Usyk in May. Now, this is the epitome of where I think boxing is going. Now, Usyk is, without doubt, a generational heavyweight boxing champion. He's going in the Hall of Fame as the generational champ. He's fought everyone, he's beat everyone. He's also a southpaw. And he is a good fighter, there's no question. I will question his first fight against Dubois. I think that's suspicious to me, the outcome of that fight. I think Dubois, if he won that fight, I think it would have been fair to me. But in any case, we are where we are. And Usyk has fought some amazing opponents and he's schooled them. And he's done it very well. Can't take it away. But you're now fighting a kickboxer who is on his second pro fight for what is a WBC belt, I believe it is. Now, none of this makes any sense to me. Would you put Usyk in the ring against a UFC fight with a UFC champion for a UFC belt? Absolutely not. It won't last more than 30 seconds. It'd be put to the ground, choked out, and it's game over, right? Why are we putting I don't care who this kickboxer is. Your legs are no longer valid, and you're fighting what is a generational great for a world title fight, and it's your second pro fight. This is a complete mismatch. And here's the worst part of this is, the worst part is this guy, Verhoeven, can get seriously damaged, right? No one wants to see that, number one. Two, they're doing it in Giza. They're doing it in Egypt. This is just distraction, right? Great, put it in Egypt. Great for Egypt. Happy for them. But this is nonsense. You're putting a fight like this, which is a nonsense fight, in a bizarre location. Nobody's going to care. But again, this just plays back to where I think boxing is leading to. But who is really left for Usyk? That is always the question. Do we just want to see him fight, I don't know, Anthony Joshua? Do we want to see him go back and fight again another Tyson Fury? I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I don't know what's left for Usyk. I know he's got to take a fight. I get it. But it feels wrong on so many. It just feels dangerous. It feels like the location is just a complete distraction, right? But again, guys, what's your thoughts on this? Happy to listen. Now, I'm going to bring it back to a positive. I'm going to end on a positive because the fight I am looking forward to is Daniel Dubois and Fabio Wardley. Now, this is what boxing to me is all about. I think this is going to be an awesome fight. I like Dubois. I like Dubois as a fighter. Let me be clear, actually. I like Dubois as a fighter. I think the thing that I like about Dubois is if I look back to his fight against Joe Joyce when he got beaten by Joe Joyce, he bounced back in a way that I think most fighters would struggle to, because you take a beating like that from a guy like Joe Joyce, and then Joe Joyce hasn't done much since, right? But the guy can bang. And Dubois was younger, and he took a real pounding, and he got beaten fair and square. But what did he do? He regrouped himself. He got back in the gym, and he excelled beyond that. Like, he's come back every fight, most fights, I would say, stronger and stronger and stronger. So I like Dubois as a fighter. I think you can knock him down and that guy can just get back up and switch it back on. He has a second wind. This is something that I don't think you can teach a fighter, right? And so he has that ability to just fight through. So kudos to the guy for that. But he has no presence. When you watch him I watch him in interviews and I just mute the TV. There's no point in listening to the guy. He has nothing to say. And so, unfortunately, in the sport of boxing, you could be a great fighter, but if you don't have that great presence as well, that great marketability, that great factor about you where, people want to watch you, people want to listen to you, unfortunately, I think you will struggle in sport. And I'll tell you another great example of that is Josh Taylor. Now, I was lucky enough to train in the same gym as Josh Taylor. In fact, I went to many of his early fights over in Belfast. We were part of the same gym at the time, McGuigan Gym. And Josh Taylor is a phenomenal fighter, but he never quite got the credibility he deserved. Especially from the media, I would say, and from promoters and the big deals. He never got that. But awesome fighter. But look, Fabio Wardley, awesome record. Marketable. And just coming back to the record, what he did against Joseph Parker. And Joseph Parker is a sensational boxer as well. Super strong, super aggressive, super durable. Anything can happen in a Joseph Parker fight. And Wardley beat him. And so kudos to Wardley. I think this is going to be a sensational matchup. This is, for me, what boxing is all about. But Fabio Wardley, and I don't care who wins this fight, by the way, I think I'd just be happy to see a great tear-up. To really awesome athletes, to really strong fighters, great styles, great matchup. Going to be explosive, but I do like listening to Wardley can talk. Like he's articulate. He's got a good boxing brain. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying, and he wants this as well. So, this is what boxing is about. The guys. The other thing, lastly, I got to mention. Now, the last thing I just want to say, though, this is what amuses me now about the sport. And this is what gives me hope. So don't forget to go to my second channel, by the way, guys, because you're going to see me training in some amazing gyms with world champion trainers and following my journey. But it gives me hope as an older guy still in the sport. We've got Ronda Rousey fighting Serrano. We've obviously got Mayweather, Pacquiao. There's the Mayweather-Tyson nonsense. And of course, you got Tyson Fury fighting, Usyk fighting. The average age across those fights is over 40 years old. It's like 42, 43 years old, something stupid. I don't know if it's good for the sport. I don't know if it's bad. I know I don't care to see Manny Pacquiao. I said this before, Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather fight again. They already passed their prime when they fought the first time. So seeing them now, it's just going to be a huge letdown. I think that's just Mayweather needing a payday. Guys reportedly going broke. I'm not surprised the way he spends. But, the average age of boxing is going up again. So there's a message to the young guys out there. You need to get back in, you need to get back on your game because the old guys are still making bank out of this sport, right? In any case, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Don't forget, if you like what we're talking about, you want more of my deep dive into boxing, and you want to see, I've got some amazing interviews coming up with, again, world champion trainers in world champion gyms. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, and hit me up with some of the questions you think I should be asking. Maybe hit me up with your thoughts on what's going to happen on the fights coming up. I'll always answer them. I'll build them into my next episodes. As always, guys, remember the one rule in boxing: hands up, chin down.